We're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance, as we always do. So feel free to unmute yourself and join at home, so I don't forget any words. Pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United States of America
and to the republic
for which it stands,
one nation,
under God,
indivisible,
with liberty
and justice
for all.
There, great. Well, welcome back to an eye-opener breakfast. It's been a long time since we've seen everyone. Thank you all for joining today's first virtual eye-opener. On behalf of the entire team at the Bay Area Chamber of Commerce, we appreciate your commitment to our community and patience as we work through the transition to providing you with virtual programming and events. Before we begin, I know a lot of you have become Zoom experts over the last couple of months, but for those who aren't familiar with the platform, please feel free to mute yourself so that we're not interrupting today's speakers, because that screen will bounce back and forth between your dog barking and the speaker. If you want, you can change your view from speaker to the Brady Bunch panel at the top right of your screen. And you can also use the small icon at the top right of that small screen to swap between the slide deck and speakers today. First thing I wanted to start with this morning was just a brief update on the state of emergency over in Midland. Late yesterday, everybody, I think, at this point is aware that Edenville, Smallwood, and Sanford dams breached. It's been declared a state of emergency at the county and state levels. I know everyone's thoughts and prayers are with friends, family, and colleagues that we all know in Midland and even downriver in Saginaw. If you know somebody in Midland today, I'd encourage you to check on them at some point, see how they're doing. And when the waters recede and it's time to clean up and rebuild things, I'm sure that our region is going to stand together to help others, as we've done so many times in the past. Now, I'm serving as the MC today, so apparently it's my job to do weather and news. For the weather, in May alone, we've gone from snow flurries to torrential rain, and now this weekend, it's going to be nearly 80 degrees, just in time to stay home for the holiday weekend and get together. The same people that you've been quarantined with for the past 10 weeks. A lot's changed in news and sports since we met last. Last year, Tigers lost 114 games. I watched a game last week and they looked pretty good. Of course, it was a replay from 2006. I know a lot of us, me included, are looking forward to watching live sports, especially now that the last dance is over. The proof is, ESPN ran 11 hours of sports this month that included things like frog jumping, dodge juggle, the 51st annual stone skipping world championship, and I can't make this one up, something called Stupid Robot Fighting League. To prove how bad things have gotten for sports fans, the Robot Fighting League was a replay of 2019. In fashion, barbershops and salons are closed. People like Glenn Rowley and yours truly have some of the most popular hairstyles for men, along with the ever popular bedhead. None of us have ever seen bedhead on someone, but know that we all imagine that's why you didn't turn on your camera for a Tuesday Zoom call. In the past, an MC might have pulled out a quote to inspire everyone from, John Wooden, Socrates, Walt Whitman. Today, after 10 weeks of quarantine, staying at home, I'm going to prove to you how much my sense of humor has devolved. Seen a lot of memes out there that have been interesting, and I thought I'd share a few of my favorites with you this morning. I don't even want to spend this much time with myself in honor of our teachers. My kid's teacher's a liar. He is not a joy to have in class. I know one piece of medical advice I won't be following in these times. It's the American Academy of Pediatrics guidelines on screen time. Day 4, without sports. Found a young lady sitting on my couch. Apparently she's my wife. She seems nice. And I know my wife is watching, so good morning, Sherry. And to all of you that are hoarding the toilet paper, I'm buying up all the plungers. Checkmate. In the news, the governor announced this week the reopening of restaurants and retail businesses in regions 6 and 8, which includes Traverse City and the Upper Peninsula. But before you go jumping in your car to head north, you should probably note that this may not include campgrounds and hotels. It's our hope that this region is the next to open. Today, we're going to hear from our speakers about some of the things the Bay Area Chamber of Commerce has been involved in over the past few weeks to help support our members through this crisis. And now, I'd like to thank our Eye Opener Breakfast sponsors for 2020. And I know that they're going to be on the shared screen. Those sponsors are Accident Fund Insurance Company, Associated Builders and Contractors, Greater Michigan Chapter, Bay City Boat Lines, Bay Community Tennis Association, Bay Future, Big Brothers Big Sisters of the Great Lakes Bay Region, Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan, Kapoco Community Credit Union, Covenant Healthcare, Dow Bay Area Family Y, Farm Bureau Insurance, Englehart Agency, Future Insurance, the Great Lakes Loons, Hammer Restoration, IP Telex, the Jerky Outlet, Jolt Credit Union, Mercury Telecom, Saginaw Bay Underwriters, Team One Credit Union, Tondu Medical Spa, United Bay Community Credit Union, Valley United Insurance, Wanagas Credit Union, Yo and Yo Computer Consulting, and Yo and Yo CPAs and Business Consultants. Now, I'd like to welcome one of our ambassadors who generally have their green coats on. Scott Trepkowski from Chemical Bank is going to join us today for a couple of Brick Award presentations. Scott?
Good morning, everyone. And Ryan, I still have my green coat on just for our meeting this morning.
Excellent.
So I have two Brick Awards this morning. The Brick Award was developed by the Ambassador Club to recognize the contribution a Bay County business makes to the community when it expands, renovates, or improves its facility. The first Brick Award I have today is for Mid-Michigan Periodontics. As a periodontist, Dr. John Picard specializes in gum disease, dental implant placement, and complex gum and bone grafts. Dr. Picard's office utilizes sophisticated digital technology and advanced bone graft and growth factor materials to provide patients with the most effective and efficient care possible. Their modern and comfortable office includes a variety of patient amenities to help patients feel comfortable and at ease throughout their visit. You may have seen his new office in the mixed use of a 52,000 square foot new construction that Shaheen just developed in phase 2. The goal of the project on a personal level was to improve patient facilities as well as access to care with expansion equipment, upgrade, ground floor access, ADA compliance, and parking needs. The benefits of the construction overall was the benefit of the promoting further healthcare growth / access to the community. Our next Brick Award is for Tri-City Kids Tri-City Kids Pediatric Dentistry, which was previously located on the second floor of the Davison Building in downtown Bay City. After acquiring the practice 5 years ago, Dr. Elizabeth Picard wanted an upgrade for her patients and their families. She wanted to provide her patients with a fun dental experience in a bright office. At a games waiting area and an open floor plan to observe each other teeth cleaning. Some of the services offered by Dr. Picard are infant exams, cleaning, dental sealants, tooth coloring, fillings, digital X-ray space maintainers, includes crown, pulp treatment, pulpotomies and extractions, calming sedation, and emergency and trauma. Dr. Elizabeth and Dr. John are very excited to partner with Shaheen Group on the development of their new space. This unique opportunity allowed for further development of the uptown area with a mixed-use building. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. We're going to be actually delivering those Brick Awards once things reopen. So appreciate you putting that together and welcoming those new businesses here in the community. Would like to thank Bay Landscaping for always providing those bricks that we give out every month. It was a little bit different, not hauling the weight of those bricks around with me as I walked into the DoubleTree today. So hopefully we get back to that pretty quickly. Now, I'd like to thank our sponsors. Our legacy sponsors, First State Bank, Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan, DoubleTree by Hilton, Bay City Riverfront, Independent Bank, McLaren Bay Region, Michigan Sugar Company, Three Rivers Corporation, and Thumb Bank and Trust. Our premier sponsors: Chemical Bank, Consumers Energy, Covenant Healthcare, Cumulus Media, Dow, Financial Edge Credit Union, Great Lakes Federal Credit Union, Harbor Light Photography, Spence Brothers, and Wildfire Credit Union. Our community partners are Great Lakes Bay Michigan Works, the Great Lakes Bay Regional Convention and Visitors Bureau, and Saginaw Valley State University. And our visionary leaders: AT&T, our newest visionary leader, Bay City Bridge Partners, and Mid-Michigan Health. With that, I'd like to introduce our first speaker for this morning's program. But before we begin, after today's speakers, a big part of our Eye Opener Breakfast is the networking, being able to catch up with people, talk about things that are going on. And so after our speakers this morning, we're actually going to have a little bit to network in breakout rooms. So you will see those prompt up after our two speakers. So I'd encourage you to stick around for that. Today's first speaker is Trevor Keys. Trevor, I think most of us know, is a recovering journalist who served in numerous capacities over the years with Bay Future. He is a native of Bay City and currently is the president and CEO of Bay Future. But more importantly, he survives sharing a desk with me for several months in our new office as we transitioned over here and got things put together. Welcome, Trevor. Good morning.
Good morning, Ryan. Thanks. And thanks everybody else too. Glad to see everyone on in this kind of socially responsible, socially distanced kind of way. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the things that we're doing at Bay Future and how we're partnering to try and help communities, our community and businesses kind of through this time. So for those of you that are unaware, Bay Future is the countywide economic development organization that's responsible for four kind of main things, which is business attraction of targeted industries, business retention, business expansion, and then marketing Bay County as a place to live, work, play, and invest. So in that effort, the Bay Future Board of Directors adopted a strategic plan on January 24th, 2019, making this its comprehensive program of work for economic development for 2020 through 2024. So this strategic plan is very comprehensive and the tactics are highly detailed. For more information specifically on that plan, you can go to www.bayfuture.com under Drive Forward, which is our campaign name. But all of that changed on March 22nd, 2020 with Governor Whitmer issued Executive Order 20/2020, calling for a massive shutdown of industry and business across the state of Michigan, including all of Bay County as well. Along with Bay Future and our staff, we began sheltering in place on March 12th, along with practically every other business entity that was forced to do the same in adherence to the governor's order. Since that time, Bay Future has been redirecting much of its economic development focus and activity to economic support and recovery for Bay County businesses. Since that time, Bay Future staff's been working to help quickly allocate funds to small businesses in Bay County. Through the philanthropic support of Dow, providing $500,000 to the Great Lakes Bay region, as well as the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, specifically through their Small Business Relief Grant and Loan Program, they provided an additional $400,000 to Aranac County, Bay County, Midland County, and Saginaw counties. During this process, Bay Future received 350 plus applications from Bay County small businesses for support grants in their operations. Very early on in this process, we witnessed a true measurement of the pain that our community was feeling at that time. Through these grant support programs, we were able to allocate $180,000 to 59 Bay County small businesses. Additional applications are currently being held as Bay Future continues to work towards identifying additional funding and support opportunities as we're doing today. We've also forwarded on qualifying applications to the Small Business Loan Review Committee through the Michigan Economic Development Corporation in the hopes of bringing additional dollars to our community businesses. In addition, we've advocated for additional local assistance with local government entities, as well as with the Bay Area Community Foundation, with the establishment of the Community Foundation's nonprofit operating support loan program, is making $250,000 of funding available for nonprofits that have been negatively impacted by the pandemic and are currently being assisted through that program. As a part of our sheltering at home critical support activity, we've conducted more than 200 touches and 25 visits face-to-face or screen-to-screen with businesses. We've called upon multiple organizations in support of them, including the Small Business Administration and individual lenders. We participated in more than 40 community initiative gatherings as a support to local economic activity. And all of this is with the existential witness of the pain and suffering brought on by the pandemic and the ever-changing kind of landscape. From these experiences, we've begun crafting a draft recovery plan for Bay County's economy. There are currently 4,001 total business establishments in Bay County. While ours is only an estimate, we believe at minimum 60% of those businesses have been negatively impacted by this pandemic closure to a catastrophic degree. In March, the unemployment rate in Bay County was 4.7%. And according to data from our primary collaborator, Great Lakes Bay Michigan Works, the estimated unemployment rate in May is nearly 29%. With a workforce of nearly 50,000 people, we know that families are currently being affected by the pandemic as well. So while these measurements are expected to dynamically change as Bay County gets back to work, and we hope we can do that very soon, COVID-19 has impacted all businesses, families in our community. While larger businesses and companies may be able to weather the storm better than smaller businesses, many large companies have undoubtedly felt the impact too. Given these circumstances and outlook, Bay Future has also been encouraged by the resiliency and the creativity of many of our community partners, specifically the Bay Area Community Foundation, the City of Bay City, Bay County, the Bay County Health Department, Great Lakes Bay Michigan Works, and of course the Bay Area Chamber of Commerce, just to name a few. At the same time, while this closure has been disruptive, we believe that the long-term effects of the disruption will remain in place for an uncertain period of time. Some estimates of economists place the full recovery back to quote-unquote pre-pandemic conditions, not to occur until the third quarter of 2022. So in the face of these challenges, Bay Future is compelled to act and to address these issues on behalf of the community. We're looking forward to rolling out an appendix to Bay Future's strategic action plan adopted by the board in January in the next coming weeks and months. We call this an appendix because the aim of Bay Future is not to diminish its effort in economic development, but rather to coexist it with Bay Future's current strategic action plan. We'll not consider our efforts complete until we have fully recovered and measured our effectiveness by returning to a pre-pandemic economy here in Bay County. We'll add 5 additional tactics focused on the recovery effort, looking to drive forward the positive changes needed to get our community back up and running. The only way we can do this is with your support and the collaboration and support of community and community partners. So with that being said, I'd also like to talk about a new incentive program that's being led by Bay Future and the Bay Area Chamber of Commerce called Buy BC. It's an effort to supplement struggling small businesses in all of Bay County. Our aim is to essentially build a fund that would be made to supplement a gift card top-up or stimulus program, the likes of which have been successful in Kalamazoo and Midland during the pandemic. We're working with partners to raise $25,000 or more to supplement this fund and to use as an incentive for the public to purchase gift cards at their favorite restaurant and retail locations throughout Bay County. The program would offer a 20 to 25% cost savings for the public on the purchase of eligible gift cards, and the fund would make those small businesses whole for the remaining 20 to 25% on every gift card sold while supplies last or while funding lasts. We believe that this program would inject and leverage more than $120,000 in addition to the support we've already pumped into our local commercial economy in a very short amount of time, giving small businesses critical capital that's needed for those that are struggling. Now, more details are on the way as we look to get retailers and restaurants signed up for the program over the next week or so keep your eyes peeled. There are many new and exciting programs that are forthcoming from a myriad of different organizations, both locally and nationally, and we're proud to be able to work with these organizations to lead and support these efforts. If your business is struggling or is interested in more information, please follow our Facebook page, check out reopenbaycounty.com, or call us or your financial advisor or your financial lender for more information. I want to thank everybody for your resiliency. I want to thank everybody for your time. I want to thank you, Ryan, and the rest of you for your investment in Bay County, and really appreciate having the opportunity to speak with everybody today. Thanks.
Thank you, Trevor. You know, that Buy BC program is going to be pretty exciting. And I know Trevor mentioned that we were working on raising $5 or more, and just wanted to make everybody aware as of Friday at about 4 o'clock last week, we reached that $25,000 commitment level from numerous businesses and supporters in the community. So we look to get that rolled out in the next week or two. Now, our second speaker for this morning's program is Joel Strauss. Joel Strauss is the health officer with Bay County Health Department. He served in this capacity since 2013 and has over 25 years experience in public health, including extensive work in community organization, data analysis and evaluation, environmental health issues, and public health operations. He previously served as a board member for the Bay County American Red Cross, the Crossroads Center for Recovery, Bay County Habitat for Humanity, and is a current board member of All Saints Central Schools. He holds a BA from Michigan State University and an MPA from the University of Michigan Flint. Joel lives in Essexville with his wife and their 2 children. And I think everybody's probably at this point of the COVID crisis pretty familiar with Joel. Joel, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Ryan. And good morning, everyone. In the beginning of the pandemic, I had a quote that always used to pop around in my mind, and I think it's especially relevant this morning. And it's supposedly an ancient Asian or Chinese curse, but there's no proof that that's actually the case. But the curse basically is, may you live in interesting times. And I can say without a doubt this morning, we definitely live in interesting times. And, you know, if it's not one thing, it's another thing, as Rosanna Dana used to say. But regardless of the predicament that we find ourselves in today, we need to find a way to get back to normal. And what that normal is, we don't exactly know. But as we had stated yesterday when we unveiled the website, that we can't continue to shelter in place indefinitely. That is not a feasible strategy. And it's a feasible strategy in the short term, but in the long term, we have to re-engage within the community. So I'm happy to be here this morning to unveil the new Reopen Bay County website, and we'll be going over some of the aspects of that very soon. One of the things, excuse me, still a little shaky on Zoom. One of the things that with the website is, that we came across was that we noticed that there were a few other counties in the state that had little booklets about reopening back into the community, and it was basically a PDF that maybe was 20 pages or more about some best practices, and they were very good, but they were not very practical. And then we ran across something that Berrien County did, and they did a website very much like what we have, but that just had a thought pop into my mind. Why can't we do the same thing here? Why don't I get a hold of Ryan and Trevor and see if we can do the same thing and actually improve it? And I'm glad to say that I think within 3 days, we put this thing together. Now, normally in the government, a website like this would probably take you about 3 years to put together, not 3 days. So those are part of the interesting times that we deal with here. But it's one of the very good things that has come with this pandemic is that the old rules have kind of been thrown out the window, that we have learned to move very, very quickly, and that we need to move very, very quickly. And that's part of the thing, is that we could sit here and hunker in place and then wait for the governor to decide whether or not that our region is going to open or not, and then decide from there how we're going to do that. It is better for us to be a part of planning together and to be prepared, so when the decision does come to reopen, that we are allowed to reopen, that we can do so in the fullest manner possible and the safest manner possible as well. We still have very serious considerations in front of us, and the pandemic is by no means over, And in fact, the flooding in Midland and the potential flooding in our community that could be coming really could exacerbate the problem as well. But let's go through the website here. This website is designed for a variety of audiences in Bay County, not only just businesses, but actually nonprofit agencies, schools, churches, others. And we're going to be adding to it in the coming days and coming weeks. We would really love to put this thing to bed within 3 months and say, hey, we're done and everything is good and we're fully recovered, but that might not be the case. And so at the very least, this will be an anchor so that you as community members, you as businesses can get together and obtain the information and obtain the guidance that you need. The website address is reopenbaycounty.com. Can't get more simpler than that. And I want to thank beforehand everyone that helped put this thing together, whether it was the folks at Bay Futures or Chamber of Commerce, and even our own team here at Bay County. They really went to work on this. And like I said, it took the bulk of about 3 days to put this whole thing together, but it was clean. It's very, very professional. As you enter into the website, you'll be welcomed by Jim Barsha, our Bay County executive. There's a whole letter. It basically is what I've seen from the get-go. Whatever we do, we have to do it quickly, safely as possible, and we have to do best practices to be effective. We can't just on the old methods to do things, and so that's one of the very things. And one of the great things about Tim's leadership is that we've been able to move pretty effectively. If you compare some of the Bay County data to some of the neighboring communities, or even the communities throughout the state, we're in relatively good shape at this point. We're by no means out of the woods, like I said before. We have a lot of things to worry about, a lot of things to take into consideration. But basically, not only with the effective leadership that we've had, but the outstanding cooperation and collaboration between different groups, we've been able to keep the virus at bay to a good extent. There are a lot of, like I said, though, there's a lot of things that we have to worry about, especially as we reopen. But with that being said, we've got health and safety guidelines. So these things are designed to keep employees and customers safe. So the latest information on there, and it's basically, as you click on the links here, you will see there's a reopening checklist that we put together, and a variety of different templates that can be used. And we'll go over that in a little more detail in just a minute here. But essentially, as the governor said, you have to have a plan before you get before you reopen. And this allows you to help put your plan together. And these are very, very effective tools that were created by the Bodman Group. And they're templates that are free to use at your as you need them. And there's enough information about them, and there's also additional guidance below, but we'll go over that in a second. In addition to that, one of the key essential elements is finding PPE for your business. Now, initially, the governor said just reach out to your county and they will help you get PPE. We barely have enough PPE for ourselves and for the medical providers that are frontline workers. But there are all sorts of local and good options that you can find, and they're here on this link as well. If anyone's been involved with the Great Lakes Bay Regional Alliance or Thrive, they have a pretty good outreach to local manufacturers and local distributors of PPE. So I encourage you to go on that link and look through there. There's also a number of different things of COVID support and events that were put on by the Chamber of Commerce. They're involved there. And then if you want to check our daily progress, you can always go on to the Bay County COVID dashboard. And I'll talk about that too a little bit in a minute. That's a very good thing. It's kind of like your rain gauge, so to speak, of where we're at with the pandemic. And of course, the partners that put together this website, we're very, very much grateful for them. And we're very, very proud of the cooperation that we've had for that. So the resources and guidelines, as I've talked about before, we have an extensive list. You can go here. This is a checklist that we help put together based on some of the best practices that are already out there. It's kind of taking a little bit to load here. But this will help you in your day-to-day efforts. And it's really good reading material before you sit down and before you start to think about, well, how am I going to fully reopen? Which I'm sure most of you have thought about this already. But there are a variety of different things, talking about training for your staff, developing facility and health screening protocols. Unfortunately, we're going to have to get into some uncomfortable territory where we ask our employees their health status on a daily and regular basis, sometimes twice a day basis. And that's a necessary thing if we want to keep our workspaces safe. Like I stated before, we can't always just shelter in place. For as much as we can work remotely, not all work can be completed remotely. And when that happens, we absolutely need to have that ability to make sure that the folks that we're working with are safe and healthy as well. We've got some additional screening guidance, determining PPE needs, determining and implementing social isolation plans, cleaning protocols. What do you do if you've got a positive employee? How do you treat that? How do you treat other employees with that? What do I need to do? Do I need to reach out to the health department, or will the health department reach out to me? And there's a combination of answers there too, as well. But also there's some different things about posting requirements and others. So I highly encourage you to go through the workplace checklist. We won't go through the whole thing today. This is just kind of a highlight of what's involved here. But I highly encourage you to go through the response and preparedness plans. And like I said before, the Bodman Group or the Bodman team had provided 4 different templates for the use, and they're available for your use here. Low, medium, and high-risk jobs. People have questions about, well, I work in a pretty high-risk job because I see people on a daily basis. And well, actually, the high-risk jobs are those frontline health workers. Those are the ones that are dealing with people with COVID-19. If you're in a retail setting, you're probably more likely to have a medium or low risk exposure. If you're in an office setting, especially one that allows you to have a private office and more than 6 feet of distance, you're in a lower risk caution. But if you're in a manufacturing facility and sharing tools, and or if you're in a it could be a whole variety of different places where you're sharing common equipment. You may be in a medium risk facility or medium risk setting. But go through this. It's surprising. A lot of people are surprised where their risk levels are, and it should be hopefully very comforting to them. But at the same time, we don't want people to get complacent. We'll talk about that. But there's basically 5 essential elements of the plans: distancing, and part of that is trying to restrict person-to-person access as much as possible, working remotely as much as possible, putting physical barriers into place, restricting travels. We've all been doing that for the past 2 months. I think we've gotten very good at that. Everyone knows about sanitation and hygiene and the importance of cleaning and washing regularly. If you can get hand sanitizer to do that, but hand washing is the best thing, obviously. But restricting shared tools, machinery, and equipment. And in some cases, improving ventilation to minimize recirculation. Now, the real difficult part comes to some other things like access control, surveilling, doing a daily surveillance of your employees' health, doing on-site temperature checks with a touchless thermometer. There's a certain art to doing that. You can't just be 20 feet away from a person and zap away. You actually have to get about 2 inches from their forehead to actually do that. And it may not be practical to do that as well, but definitely taking daily surveillance of employees' health, especially when you're working in a congregate setting. Getting PPE, making sure that face masks are available to everyone. If necessary, use disposable gloves. You don't always have to, but if you don't use disposable gloves, make sure that there's opportune times for sanitizing and cleaning and good hygiene. And getting access to PPE as well. And then the real difficult part comes into effect, where if you do have a positive case, your chances are likely that you're probably going to get notified by the health department. We're one of the first people to find out, as long as we get adequate testing done. But if it's done right, your employees should be telling you when they become symptomatic, and those employees should be removing themselves from the workplace so you don't get spread. It doesn't happen. So we still have a great deal of uncertainty in the community about just what exactly isolation and quarantine is. Quarantine means that you're working apart or staying apart, you're at home. That's basically what everyone is doing right now. Isolation is when you do become symptomatic, or you do have a positive confirmed case, that you are isolating yourself from your family members, anyone that lives in your home. And that's one of the things that we find troubling, is that when people do become carriers of the virus, or they do become positive, is they don't do an adequate job of isolating themselves. And so what we tell people is, think about if you've ever had gastrointestinal illness where you're throwing up, you probably withdraw into a separate room, hopefully a bedroom, and you've got your own bathroom, and people keep away from you in your home. Now, that might not be feasible for everyone. It's very easy for me to say that in a 3,000 square foot home that I live in the suburbs with. But if you're in an 800 square foot apartment, 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, and you're sharing that with 4 or 5 people, it's very difficult to do that. But if you can do that, please do that. In addition, there's a coronavirus business resource guide that's available here. Really, there is a plethora of information, and we want to get as much information to you as possible. As Ryan had stated yesterday during our press briefing, not everyone is available to or has memberships in certain trade organizations. We try to take the best practices from those trade organizations and made them available to you here. So it's available here in our business resource guide, in addition to screening forms and screening guidance, but also specific information by category. So if you're looking for PPE information, there's some links for local PPE here. Businesses and employers, whether it's grocery stores, childcare institution, restaurants, retail settings, businesses and employers, construction and manufacturing, long-term care facilities, mental health. The list goes on and on and on. We even have a substance for farmers markets at this point. We're hoping to get within the next day or two more guidance on faith-based groups. One of the things that I've learned is that the Diocese of Saginaw has authorized that masses can begin again on a limited basis beginning in the end of the month. Basically, not this coming Sunday, but the next Sunday. But it's not going to be February 2020 all over again. There's going to be very limited spacing. I'm sure that they're going to have to go with what the governor allows them to do. I'm not sure what the occupancy settings are going to be. But also, I think that they're very aware that a lot of people have anxiety about re-engaging. We're also trying to get more information about schools in there. It seems that every day that there's something new. I know yesterday that Notre Dame University announced that it would be beginning classes in August with the intention of wrapping up at Thanksgiving so that the students don't go home during Thanksgiving and then come back and cause an outbreak. We'll see how that goes. I know that the local universities are going to start in-person classes pretty soon as well, and that the local schools are viewing a variety of different options. But one of the main things that people often ask me, assuming that I have some kind of say over this, is whether or not that high school football is going to be able to begin this fall. And hopefully, yes. I have a sophomore, soon to be a junior, that's on the football team at All Saints, and he'd like to get out there. But there's a lot of unknowns and a lot of things that we have to take into consideration with that. I will say this, though, that things will not be the same. Things are going to be a lot different. And we're going to have to deal with this for at least 12 months at the very least. And it could be longer. And things will come out differently as we depart from here as well. That we'll find that some of the old ways of doing things weren't exactly the best. And we may adopt into new things. Almost last but not least, the COVID support and events that's put on by the Chamber of Commerce. This is a great resource for folks. There's employer rights and responsibilities, a really good presentation here. Information about City Office, the virtual think tank that meets every Tuesday at 4 p.m. Serve Safe takeout and training videos that are available to folks, especially restaurants, because we think that as the governor opens up, that restaurants are going to be the first things that are probably allowed to open up at a limited capacity. And the last thing I want to share, so I don't go on too long, is that if you want to see or view where our status is at any given time, please click on the link here. Actually, I can just go here. This should just bring it up to our dashboard. And this is a fairly live thing. We're actually at 252 cases. This as of this morning. It's updated every day at 4 o'clock. Sometimes when we get positive cases, we find out that they're actually not positive cases, and we have to take that out, which is a good thing. But our nurses and our communicable disease staff are working pretty diligently and have been since March 13th, when we had our first case here in Bay County. And we do quite a fair amount of contact tracing. So for everyone that comes as a positive case, there's usually about 6 to 12 people that are considered close contacts. And the official close contact definition as of last Friday was that close contact is someone that you spent more than 10 minutes with in a space of 6 feet or less. So it could be everyone that you live with. It could be anyone that you work with. But most people have between half a dozen to a dozen close contacts. And so we have to contact those people and then get their contacts as well, especially if they're symptomatic. So it's quite a labor-intensive process, but we're hoping to have some things go online pretty soon that will actually expedite our isolation and quarantine, and that's the best way that we can fight the virus as of right now. So I could go on and on and on about the website, and I know that we've all got a pretty big, we got a lot of things that we've got to do today. So I'm going to open it up at this point if anyone has any questions.
I would say we probably, as we sort of start to get near the top of the hour, maybe we have time for one question if somebody's got the one thing that maybe wasn't covered or that you saw was missing from that website that you might need as a business or as an employee. Feel free to ask Joel or Trevor. And seeing none in either the
oh, we do have one.
There we
do
go.
have one. Can you open clinical infrastructure workers? Link doesn't work for me. Okay, let me see if I can, Terry, I'll try to get that and then message you offline on that.
If there's any links that don't work for people, feel free to reach out to any of those partner organizations and we'll certainly get those out to you as attachments. So with that, thanks for joining us this morning and kind of walking us through that. I know that website, if you're not already back to work, if your business isn't already open, we'd encourage you to utilize that site. The one thing Joel mentioned early on was we aren't going to stay closed forever. And, knowing that we're going to reopen, the one thing we can do right now to prepare for that is to prepare. And I think a lot of those resources that you're going to need as a business are there on that website, and that'll be helpful for you as you kind of walk through that process. Now with that, we've got a few minutes left, and I'd like to just kind of walk through our breakout rooms. But first, one of the things that you may have noticed that we missed is our table hosts for 2020. Those are generally our hosts who have their logos on the tables when we're at the DoubleTree. Today, we're actually using those as our sponsors for our networking breakout rooms, and they are the Alzheimer's Association, Bayfield Assisted Living and Memory Care, Edward Jones Investment, Tammy Claremont, Energize YPN, Garpeel Group, Melaleuca, Independent Marketing Executive Dave Dyke, Mr. Lister Real Estate Team, Moulthrop Clift Insurance, Remax, Jean Ann DeShano, Sunrise Family Credit Union, Thrivent Financial, Two Men in a Truck, and WT Architects. Now, in just a moment, you're going to get a notification on your screen to join a breakout room, and you'll be randomly selected and placed in a room with some others. We'll have a little bit less than 10 minutes and to have some conversation, kind of catch up with one another. And then just so you know, when those breakout rooms are closed, you're not going to jump right back into the group with 100 people. You'll get a 60-second warning before those close, and we come back to go through our closing announcements with Rachel. So Renee, if we haven't already, could we open those breakout rooms and assign people to them?
All right, welcome back, everyone. I'm here to just wrap up our little eye-opener breakfast. I hope everyone had fun. I didn't see anybody bring bacon. Anybody eating bacon? Hold it up. Share it with all of us. I have coffee. So, yeah, cheers to everybody. Well, I just wanted to thank Trevor and Joel for those updates. In order to stay updated on all of our future chamber events, we're probably going to be doing a lot of virtual content, but we're going to be sharing all that information on our Facebook page, on our website. We do a lot of email blasts, so just keep an eye out for all of those upcoming virtual events. And please, we ask that you take the Eye Opener Breakfast survey that you'll receive later today. it will help us, as we work to transition and improve on all of our virtual offerings and events. And one last thing, the chamber staff and I would like to thank our ambassador team out there for sticking with us and being patient with us as we work through all of this. And they're really essential for our team, and we love them very much. So thank you, ambassadors, and thanks everyone for attending today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Stay safe and have a great weekend.
Take care. Bye, everyone.